Oh, I see what you're saying. Hey, folks, Dr. Joe here. Garrett said we're going starting a little early, so this is just a hi, how are you? This is just getting everybody on because I knew I had a lot of people in the waiting room. I didn't want to have them waiting and say, "Where is everybody?" So again, we don't start for another about 40 seconds. But anyway, glad you're here. I really am very excited. It's fun every week that we're seeing more and more people join us, and I appreciate that. If you would do me a favor, share this link now with everybody in your group so that they all get the message. If you've never attended the workshop, the live shows like this, I'm going to show you how it works. Wait till everybody joins in just a few minutes, a few seconds actually. But it's a lot of fun. So share this link with all your friends and everybody in your list because this is vital information. And obviously, you're following us because you like it. It's going to blow your mind. Every time we do a show, people from all over the world say, "Dr. Joe, this is incredible. I've never heard anything like this before." So it's a lot of fun. It really is neat. So Garrett, can we start talking to the group here? It's 1 o'clock. Garrett says yes. Garrett gave me a thumbs up. That was your thumb, right? Not any. No. Okay. Okay. Good. I'm never sure with Garrett there. Anyway, welcome, folks. I'm Dr. Joe Esposito. If it's your first time joining us, I'm glad you're here. The way this works is I'm going to talk for 24 minutes. You, whatever platform you're on, is a great opportunity if you have any health questions to type in your health questions. Garrett and John, my producers, will read me the questions at the end of 24 minutes. I will then answer your questions. Then I will do another 24 minutes, and then I will answer your questions again. So it's a great opportunity to do this. Do me a favor, if you're listening live, put in hashtag live. Just do it right now. Just put in hashtag live. This way the bots in the universe know that you're listening. If you're listening to this on a recording, type in hashtag replay. Hashtag live if you're live. If you're listening on a recording, hashtag replay. Just do me as a favor. It lets the bots know that we're out there and we're listening. So I'm going to talk for 24 minutes, and you guys can think of any health questions you might have. So Garrett, John, are we ready to go ready? Okay. All right, here we go. Hey, folks. Oh, hold on 1 second. Let's do that again. Ready? Hey, folks. Dr. Joe Esposito here. I am glad you're with us today. What we're going to talk about today, and this is kind of funny, because I don't know if any of you are old enough. There was a comedian named George Carlin, and we're going to talk about some of the unhealthiest foods on the planet. Now, George Carlin had an album. I remember my friend Kurt had it. My friend Kurt's birthday today, too, by the way. And it was Class Clown. It had a picture of George Carlin sitting on a stool with his finger up his nose, and it was called Class Clown. And on that, he did a bit called the 7 words you can never say on television. I can't say them, of course. But there are 7 words you can never say on television. And they were fun because I was in high school, and it was really funny as a high school boy in the 70s going, "Oh, this is so funny." And then later on, he said, "You know what? There's a lot more than 7." And I remember he was on stage later on in his career, and he rolls out this scroll, and it rolls across the stage, and he starts reading all these other words you can't say on television. So I always came up with the 7 deadly sins of nutrition. And in that group, it encompasses the foods you really want to avoid. That would be alcohol, meat, sugar, dairy, coffee, soda, and artificial sweetener. So under that, a lot of other foods fall. So today we're going to pull a George Carlin. We're going to go the other words you can't say on television. We're going to talk about the other foods that are the deadly sins of nutrition, not just the 7. So the problem is that there are so many nutrient-deficient foods out there that can just destroy your health. Now, I've been studying nutrition, biochemistry, neurophysiology for 40 years now. And the more I study, the more excited I get because I'm realizing that we have the answer to so many health problems. And yet, we keep doing more research. We keep spending more money on medications and surgeries. There's nothing wrong with medications and surgeries when used properly. I am a huge fan of medicine. Okay, I have friends and I have people on speed dial, orthopedists, neurologists, neurosurgeons, internal medicine. I got an email this morning from an internal medicine doctor. "Hey, Joe, love your show. I'd love to get together with you and talk. How can we work together so you can help my patients better?" So I'm going to have dinner with him in a couple of days. So everyone's loving what we're doing. But when I was a kid, there was a place, was it the Safeway? No, the A&P, that's right. A&P stood for Atlantic and Pacific Tea Company. and it was in Hoboken, New Jersey. It was a little tiny grocery store, and that was the grocery store in town. It was one on the other side of town, but that was the one we went to. Now grocery stores are superstores. Look at how big some of these grocery stores are. A lot of the stuff they're selling in there, most of the stuff they're selling in there is not something you should be consuming, in my opinion. So there's so many contrived products out there, and it's supposed to taste like this or look like this or remind you of that. And what we're trying to do is we're trying to make healthier choices, not worse choices. But manufacturers, their job is to make money, is to get you to buy these other products. And I understand that. But even seemingly healthy meals, I love it when they put the word healthy on it. You might make a choice of something that's healthy. You might have a picture of, green on it and say, oh, green looks like it's healthy. And then you read those ingredients and unnecessary preservatives, artificial flavors, colors, dyes, additives. I want you to get away from that. So, of course, my mission is always to get you well and keep you well naturally. So we're going to talk about today why some of these foods are bad and then alternatives to it. Because if you listen to me before, you know one thing. I never leave you hanging. I'm always going to give you information that you can use and say, okay, instead of this, I can always substitute with that. I always say I'll negotiate with you on just about everything. And even with the 7 deadly sins, alcohol, meat, sugar, dairy, coffee, soda, and artificial sweetener, if you've heard me talk about that in the past, I negotiate on every one of them. I want you to avoid them, but here's other options. So you're not going to have to hang there. Now, just recently I came back from a vacation. I was on a cruise, and I was very disappointed with humanity. Because on a cruise, if you've ever been on a cruise, they have a buffet, usually 1 or 2 buffets, and they have a sit-down dinner. And the guy who served us at the dinner was very nice. He was one of the guys in charge, and he was Indian, and he found out that we didn't eat animal products, so he was thrilled out of his mind. And every meal, he brought out these amazing choices, and it was great. But I looked at the buffet, and I looked at some people who were thin and in shape, and they looked great, and they had energy, and they were very attractive. And you watched what they were eating. And they were eating the salads, and they were eating maybe the soups, and they were eating the cooked vegetables. And then you looked at the people in the scooters with the oxygen masks. And they're eating the exact opposite. The meats, the dairy products, the piles of ice cream, the pizzas. And I thought, this is not real hard to figure out. If you want to be like this healthy person, eat what they're eating. If you want to be like the person in the scooter on oxygen, many of them look younger than me, too. But they were younger than me, I can tell, just by the way they looked and the way they talked. But they looked a lot older. They were eating the bad choices. So one of the things, we'll start out with coffee. And so many people drank coffee, of course. Coffee's huge. But then they were putting creamer in it. Now, the problem with coffee creamer, there's no cream in it. If you ever read the ingredients, it's usually water, sugar, soybean oil, canola oil. And then you add that to your coffee. And coffee is one of the most highly sprayed foods there are. When I say sprayed, chemicals, pesticides, anti-fungicides. Fungicide is anti-fungicide. Fungicides, because when coffee's picked, it's stored in these big vats or bins or whatever it's stored in. And fungus can grow. So they spray fungicides on it, and they spray pesticides on it when growing it. So coffee is bad for many reasons. Commercial coffee is even worse. So if you're going to do coffee, which I wish you wouldn't, but if you do, I recommend organic coffee. Organic decaf, better still. But at least organic coffee. So there's my first negotiation with you. But these creamers just make me laugh because it's synthetic ingredients, mono and diglycerides. And we talked about soy oils a couple weeks ago and canola oils and how they're very high in omega-6 fatty acids. Omega-6 fatty acids cause inflammation. And we have to balance the omega-6 to omega-3s. And I said in the show I did on fats a couple of weeks ago, it's worse than sugar. Because if I eat sugar, it processes through my body and it's gone. If I eat these omega-6 fatty acids that oftentimes go rancid, they oxidize and go rancid, it gets into my cells. And the cells make the cell walls out of this cheap fatty acids. And it's very dangerous. And so the bad fats, the omega-6 fatty acids, the seed oils, soybean oil, sesame seed oil, corn oil, canola oil is made with rapini. It's Italian, we called it Italian broccoli. All of these are omega-6 fatty acids, and they oxidize very quickly and cause damage. So if you're going to drink coffee, I'll negotiate with you. Okay, at least do organic. Decaf organic is the best. And just use some plant-based creamers if you have to use a creamer. And if you go to the grocery store now, as compared to even 5-10 years ago, they have a whole section of plant-based creamers. Now, they're still loaded with sugar. But It's a better choice. And I understand. I mean, I would love for you to all be plant-based, raw food mostly. I get all that. So I'm going to hold your hand. And I'll say, let's make this little change today. Let's get rid of those commercial creamers and let's go to a plant-based creamer. And let's see how you do. Here's what's going to happen, I predict. Okay? Johnny Carson used to have the great, I can't remember his name now, he'd do predictions. I predict that once you start using the plant-based creamers, you're going to go, oh my God, these are so much better than this other stuff. I love these. These are delicious. Then eventually, don't get nervous, eventually we'll talk about coming off the coffee. But for today, I'm going to give you that deal. Now, another thing that's unhealthy is bleached white flour. Because even if it's organic flour, it's still mostly sugar. And they use bleaching chemicals. Azodicarbonide is one of them. And it bleaches the flour to make it look white. Because the whiter the flour, the better it was. Because there was a sales pitch way back when white flour came out, that it was better because it was white and it was pure. And I remember it was one of the bread companies said it helps build strong bodies 12 ways, was it? And then finally somebody called them out and said, give me the 12 ways that eating this white bread is going to make my body healthier. And they went, and they stopped using that slogan because it doesn't help build your body 12 ways. So even if the first ingredient is wheat flour, keep reading. It doesn't mention unbleached. You're likely noshing on a sandwich that's loaded with creepy chemicals and bleach and other junk in there. Also, it's pretty much sugar. Because if you look at a kernel of wheat, it has the bran on the outside. You've heard of wheat bran. It has something called the endosperm, okay, which is basically all sugar. And then it has the germ. And the germ is where the vitamin E is and the nutrients are. So if you take off the bran and take out the germ because it has oils in it that go rancid, it makes it taste bad, the only thing left is the endosperm. And the endosperm is pretty much like eating pure sugar. So people say to me all the time, Dr. Joe, what's a good bread? And my answer is there really isn't a good bread. Because all breads, by definition, are made with ground up flours. And even if you take almonds, you can eat an almond and it's locked in its little case and has the nutrients. As soon as you grind it into a flour, it starts to oxidize. And it loses a lot of its fiber content because it breaks up the fiber. So there isn't a good bread. But if you're going to eat bread, I would recommend an organic gluten-free bread. This is not permission to eat bread. This is I'm holding your hand and stepping you into this healthy world. Now, give up the bread altogether is the best. And if you're going to do it very rarely. Small amounts. And this is what happens. I get people off wheat and dairy products all the time. I do it, I don't know how many thousands of times a day. But I get people off wheat and dairy. And then eventually you're going to cheat. You're going to have a couple of slices of pizza. You're going to have some bread. You're going to have some ice cream. And then I want you to do this. I want you to think how you feel. And you're going to say, wow, I feel terrible. I'm bloated. I'm gassy. My skin itches. A lot of times wheat and dairy causes skin reactions, eczema, skin rashes. And wow, Dr. Joe was right. I don't want to be right. I am right, but I don't want to be right. I want to help you get well and stay well. So it's not about me being right or wrong. It's about these are the things that we know are true. And the easiest thing to do is do it for yourself. Give up wheat and dairy for a week. Very simple. Give up wheat and dairy for a week. Here's my challenge. No wheat, no dairy, 1 week. At the end of a week, have yourself a couple of slices of pizza. See how you feel. It's wheat and dairy. See how you feel. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. So what? You gave up wheat and dairy for a couple of days. But if I'm right, which I am, then you can say, wow, that was all I had to do to get rid of my skin rash, to get my energy levels up, to get my sleeping pattern better, to get rid of the bloating and the gas and the diarrhea and the constipation. Many times, it's a simple step. I used the analogy the other day on one of my shows that when I was young, the first car I ever had was a 6240 Econoline van. And it had a gear shift on the column. It was called 3 on a Tree, if you're old enough to remember that. And it wasn't even on the floor. It was on the column. And I remember there's a hill. I told this story just the other day on my show. And right by my church, St. Joe's Church on Hackensack Street and Hoboken Road. And I had to go up this hill to get to my house. I had no choice. And the first time I did it, I was scared to death. Saying it right now, I'm having that same feeling I had. And I had to drive this van. I couldn't roll backwards. There's a car behind me. I had to go forward. And scared the heck out of me. And eventually, I got really good at driving a stick shift, and I actually became a truck driver for a long time up when I was living up in New Jersey. So, yeah, I'm an old truck driver, folks. I'm a Jersey truck driver. Used to drive a truck all the time, deliver stuff to Newark. So, I understand that it's scary the first time you do something. First time you think, oh my gosh, I could never give up bread. I can never give up wheat. I can never give up dairy. So let's do it slow and let's see what happens. And if I'm right, great. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. So what? But I'm never wrong when it comes to this anyway. So give up those things. If you're going to do a bread, like I said, gluten-free organic would be the best. At least do a whole grain bread, an organic whole grain bread. Now, if it says whole grain, that's made with the ground up grain. If it says made with whole grain, it's made with a little bit of whole grain usually and a bunch of other cheap stuff like endosperm, just white flour. So think about what you're putting in your body. And this is what always happens. Once you start putting the good stuff in your body, you start to see the changes very quickly. Had somebody say the other day, I was sitting with a patient, and we came in, and she came all the way from Alaska to come see me. And we were talking. She was there with her daughter and her son, and I mentioned how old I was. And the mother was even younger than me. And her daughter looked at me, and her daughter's in her mid-40s. She goes, I would have guessed you were my age. So this stuff really works. If it didn't work, I wouldn't do it. If eating meatball sandwiches was the healthiest thing, I'd eat meatball sandwiches. I'm just trying to give you the information that you need. But you have to have three things to stay healthy. You have to have a normally functioning nervous system, a normally functioning digestive system, and good nutrition. So today we're talking about good nutrition, making better choices. It's really simple. Digestive system. How many of you have acid reflux, heartburn, burping, gas, bloating, diarrhea, constipation? Raise your hands. Most of you do. I know this because I've been in practice for 38 years, and I've seen thousands, probably tens of thousands of patients. And they'll come in for neck pain or back pain or shoulder pain or in a car accident or sports injury, sciatica. And my team of doctors are really good at working with that. But almost inevitably, I'd say 85% of the patients, if they're honest, are going to say, I have some digestive issues. And so then we work on the digestive system as well. And many times the problem's physical. The stomach can actually push up into the diaphragm. And then when you do things like white flour, it really irritates the digestive system. A lot of burping, a lot of gas. And so we can physically pull the stomach away from the diaphragm. And when we do, in many cases, it's like, choir boys and angels sing. Things heal because now you start digesting your food properly because the stomach was physically spasmed up into the diaphragm. So we want to get the digestive system working. We want to get the diet straightened out. We want to get the nervous system working. The nervous system controls everything. And if you have a pinched nerve, it can hurt. But 90% of the time, it doesn't hurt. You can have a pinched nerve and not know it because 90% of nerves don't feel pain. So my team of doctors are all trained to test the nerves that feel pain and test the nerves that don't feel pain. So if you have pain, neck pain, back pain, shoulder pain, sciatica, numbness, tingling, muscle weakness, swelling, folks, come see us. In the Atlanta area, we have offices in Marietta, Duluth, Stockbridge, and West Cobb. We would love to be your doctors. And let's check out and see what's going on. And let's see if you do have pinched nerves. And if you do, many times that's the quick, easy fix. And chiropractic care is most effective, least expensive treatment for most back pain. So then we look at your diet, then we look at your digestive system, and we put together a healthcare plan. Not an insurance plan, a healthcare plan to get well and stay well. And most of the patients that follow what we say are very excited. We have patients literally come from all over the world because not a lot of people do what we do. So drjoe.com is my website, drjoe.com. You can book an appointment right online. If you have any questions, send them to me through the website, drjoe.com. Please make sure you follow us on social media, at Dr. Joe Esposito. At Dr. Joe Esposito. We're approaching 1 million followers across all platforms. And the reason is we post every day, and you don't want to miss that. So at Dr. Joe Esposito, please follow us on social media as well. Make an appointment, though, to come see us. Normally, the first visit is $940. I've reduced that to $299 for our listeners. And we can do it if you're outside the Atlanta area, you can't come see us. You can become a virtual patient. Just go to the website, send us an email. We'll get that set up for you. But we want to get you well and keep you well. We really do. All right, another thing that people are confused with, and I'm thinking about my cruise here, is a lot of people drinking fruit juice in the morning. I'm going to have a glass of orange juice. I'm going to have a glass of grapefruit juice because it's good for me, and it's high in vitamin C. Yeah, it is, but what can be wrong with it? 100% fruit juice. Very high. It's better than those high fructose-laden drinks that they have, those fake drinks. But the fruit drinks, even if it's 100% grape juice, let's say, can have 36 grams of sugar per cup. The maximum amount of sugar you should have in a day is 40 grams of sugar. So you've had just about all the sugar you're allowed to have in a whole day in 1 cup of juice. And that's the equivalent of eating about 4 glazed donuts. So if I was going to say to you, what's a healthier choice, just from a sugar standpoint? Let's have 4 glazed donuts or a glass of grape juice. Which would you choose? You'd probably pick the grape juice, right? Well, it might have a little more nutrients than it, but sugar's about the same. 4 glazed donuts and a glass of juice. So I want you to stay away from juices. It's natural, but it also has a lot of fructose in it. And when you put fructose in your body, whether it's from a fruit, and I'm going to explain why fruit is okay, but juice isn't. I'm going to put fruit juice in my body. The fructose has to be converted into glucose, which is the type of fuel my cells use. In the process of converting fructose into glucose, my body produces something called uric acid. Uric acid gets in your joints and it hurts. And so as a pain management expert, I want to get my patients out of pain. So that's why every patient that comes in our door, we do a nutrition evaluation on, along with chiropractic evaluation and an orthopedic evaluation and x-rays if necessary, check their digestive system, because we want to get them well quickly. And I'll tell them, listen, you got to cut out this fructose because it's converting into uric acid. Uric acid gets in your joints and it hurts. That's not the worst part. Uric acid lowers your body's production of nitric oxide. Nitric oxide opens up your blood vessels. It increases circulations. If I was the Grand Poobah of the universe, everybody who is on high blood pressure medication should have to take nitric oxide and eat nitric oxide-rich foods, nitrate-rich foods. That would be arugula, beets, celery, spinach. These are high in nitrates converted to nitrates converted to nitrites, which convert into nitric oxide. I take Dr. Joe's nitric oxide support every single day. I can't imagine why you're not, because it just gives you energy. It increases circulation. Also very good for sexual function. Men and women, you need circulation. As you get older, the circulation drops. So this, I take 4 of these a day, will last in your body about 6 to 8 hours. So I take it in the morning to get my day started. If you're planning on having a little romance in your life, take another 4, maybe an hour or 2 beforehand. Watch what happens. I think you're going to be very impressed with how the circulation improves. Now, it could be a pinched nerve in the low back affecting sexual function. That's what chiropractic comes in. It could be your diet. That's what we come and do a nutrition evaluation on everybody. But nitric oxide is like amazing. It's my second favorite supplement. My first favorite supplement are Dr. Joe's Super Greens and Dr. Joe's Essential Source. Now, Essential Source is the granddaddy of them all. It's prebiotics, probiotics, digestive enzymes, complete multivitamin. I take a scoop of this every day along with a scoop of Super Greens, and I just mix them together with some coconut milk, almond milk, shake it up, drink it. Boy, those 3 together are just a powerful combination. Super Green, Essential Source, and nitric oxide. Again, if you have low blood pressure, don't take nitric oxide. The other 2 are fine. But go to my website, drjoe.com. Go to the store. It has all the information on it. You could order it there if you want to. Come pick it up at our offices in Marietta, Duluth, Stockbridge, or West Cobb, and that'll save you some shipping. But again, I know a lot of people listen to the show all around the world, and so you would be practical to come pick it up. We can ship it to you. Now, instead of having this fruit juice and you like something, flavorful for drink, take some water. My Grandpa Esposito, used to do this. And he takes slices of oranges or grapefruit, limes, and he'd throw it all in again, this is before the word organic even existed because everything was organic. And you throw it in a big thing of water, a jug of water, and put some ice in there. And then throughout the day, we came from a family of, in the late 60s, there was 79 Espositos, direct descendants of my grandmother and grandfather. They and we'd all a lot of us get together for dinner on Sundays, and he'd have these all over, and you just drink out of that. So once you start drinking something like just fruit and water, you're going to find that the other stuff is way too sweet. It's going to blow your mind. It happens in like a couple of weeks. You're going to go back to try and drink fruit juice and go, oh my gosh, this is disgusting. Now, fruit's okay because fruit has fiber and phytonutrients in it, and it offsets the fructose damage by giving the positive is way more than the little negative you're going to get from the fructose. When you're drinking the pure fruit juice, the fructose, not a good idea. So instead of drinking fruit juices, try water, try Super Greens and Essential Source. Try a couple of slices of lemon or lime or orange or grapefruit if you want to in the water. Mint works really well in water. It works great. Now, if you have any space to grow anything, plant some mint. It'll grow like a weed forever. I don't care how cold it is. I don't care what the climate does. Mint grows like a weed during its season, during the summer. So you can plant mint and it grows great, and you can just throw it in your water, and it's a lot of fun. Also, if you're making a fruit salad, throw some mint in there. It's great. In the winter, if you pick the mint and dry it out, you can make tea out of it. So mint is kind of a lot of fun. It has some health benefits as well. Very good for the stomach, too. All right, other foods I want you to stay away from. Diet soda, that's one of my 7 deadly sins, is artificial sweetener. Artificial sweeteners, flame retardants, and fake sugars all have one thing in common. They're some of your favorite ingredients in your fizzy drinks. Now, when I talk about soda, I got to talk about this. I haven't talked about this in a while. There's a yellow soda out there. I won't say what mountain it's from, but it has bromine in it. And bromine, when it gets into the body, can block up your thyroid and prevent you from absorbing iodine. Because bromine is a haloid. There's bromine, chlorine, fluorine, and iodine. You need iodine to make the thyroid work. If you're drinking this yellow soda, it has bromine in it. It helps keep everything mixed together. That's why they do it. And the bromine can block up your thyroid and can have adverse effect on your thyroid, along with the caffeine, along with the sugar, along with the artificial sweeteners. But the artificial sweetener is the worst of all. And in fact, the World Health Organization finally came out and said that it's considered a possible carcinogen to humans. Now, it's a lot deeper than that, too. But anyway. All right, folks, I'm almost out of this section here. If you have any questions, send them to me through my website, drjoe.com. Follow us on social media at Dr. Joe Esposito. If you'd like to become a patient, either virtual or real, in person, you can book it right on my website, drjoe.com. But we want to do everything we can to get you well and keep you well. The supplements we talked about, Super Green, Essential Source, Nitric Oxide, a bunch of other supplements, all on the website, drjoe.com. But there's so much information. And make sure you follow us on social media at Dr. Joe Esposito, because we post every single day. You're going to get so much information. It's a great opportunity to interact. And again, the website, drjoe.com, is where you want to send your questions. If you want to make an appointment, that's really the best thing. drjoe.com. We accept people with all insurances, no insurances, car accidents. Folks, if the car's damaged, you're damaged. You need to see us right away. Again, drjoe.com. We'll be right back. Bam. Do we have any questions from our worldwide audience?
The peanut butter I use has hydrogenated oil. Is that okay?
Throw it away. First of all, 2 reasons. Peanut butter and hydrogenated oil. I'm not a fan of peanuts because they're high in omega-6 fatty acids, and they also have a fungus on it called mycotoxin. A better choice would be almond butter, cashew butter, filbert butter. Those are way better choices. Hydrogenated oil, I'll tell you a little story. Years ago, 20, 30 years ago, I was doing a presentation, a conference on hydrogenated oil, and I said that it's going to be the number 1 cause of heart disease. We know that. It just hasn't made the media yet. So a couple of days later on CNN, they said, number 1 cause of heart disease, margarine, which is hydrogenated oil. So my mother calls me up, and she says, I'm not sure if you're a nut or a prophet. I haven't quite figured it out yet. And I said, probably a little bit of both, Mom. But yeah, hydrogenated oil directly linked to heart disease. Peanut butter, very high in omega-6 fatty acids, would cause inflammation. A mycotoxin cause allergic reactions. Switch to a different type of butter, and no hydrogenated oil ever. Okay. What else?
I heard that the pesticides sprayed onto oats negate the benefits of oatmeal. Is that true?
It doesn't negate the benefits. It just is bad for you. So I would do organic oats. Problem solved. Make sure it's old-fashioned or steel cut. Don't do the instant oats. They grind it up, and it loses a lot of its benefit because the fiber's ground up. But just do organic oats, and that solves that problem. What else?
Is rye bread okay?
Nope. Still, rye is loaded with gluten, just like wheat, barley, and rye. Again, there is no good bread. I wish there was, because I'm Italian, and it kills me that bread is not good for us. So if you're going to do an organic rye, it might be a little better than wheat, but it still has the gluten in it. So that's why I try to do a gluten-free bread if you could. So, what else?
Are eggs okay for breakfast?
I'm not a big fan of eggs. I'm not a fan of any animal products. Eggs are just loaded with cholesterol. The chemicals they feed the chickens, they're low omega-6 fatty acids. They feed them, like if a chicken is fed natural foods that get a higher omega-3 fatty acid level. When you start feeding them things like soy and corn, it skyrockets the omega-6 fatty acid. So not a fan of eggs, no. So.
What is a typical breakfast for you?
I haven't eaten in 35 years. I'm starving right now. No. Super Green's an essential source first thing in the morning. Okay, I wake up. I look so forward to this. This is like the highlight of my morning. So I take a scoop of each. I mix it with just some milk, coconut milk, almond milk, organic soy milk. In the summer, I mix it with a frozen banana, which I had today, half a frozen banana, and I whip it up, and I look so forward to that in the morning. Then I'll usually have 2 or 3 pieces of fruit, and usually I'm okay until about 10 o'clock. Right around 10 o'clock, I start getting hungry. So, for example, today, I had some pistachios and some pecans. I was going to say almonds, pecans. And then I had a tomato salad. Garden came in, so I had tons of tomatoes. And I had a tomato salad, and that's what I've eaten so far today. Now I'm going to be hungry. Dinner plans, so I'm going to go out to dinner. And that's pretty much my day. It's not a whole lot of junk food, certainly, and not a lot of processed food. So, what else? If you don't know what to eat, go to my website, drjoe.com, and type in "So what can I eat?" and listen to a lecture I did on that. It kind of gives it to you. By the website, searching it is free. So, what else you got?
That's all.
I'm ready for part 2. All right, Garrett. Checking everything.
Yeah. What helps? What helps with nausea?
Nausea. It depends what's causing the nausea. Many times it's the stomach pushed up against the diaphragm. So that can cause a nauseous feeling. It could be something with the inner ear, because the inner ear has these semicircular canals, and that can control balance, and that can affect the vagus nerve. So the vagus nerve can affect nausea. So the stomach pushed up against the diaphragm, the vagus nerve being affected. It could be a pinched nerve in the upper part of the neck. That can cause nausea. So nausea oftentimes is a physical problem, not necessarily a chemical problem. So if you want to come see us, we can check the atlas, the top bones, we can check the semicircular canals, we can check the stomach, and let's see if we can get to the cause of the nausea. It could be something you're eating, and it could be a disease process too, but that's why we like to examine the patient so we can get to the cause of the problem. So, but it could be a lot of different things. Anything else?
A couple questions came in. The first question is, we have free-range chickens. In that instance, is it okay to eat the chickens and the eggs?
I'm still not a fan, but if you're going to eat chickens and eggs, that's the way to do it. Now, when you say free range, what are they eating? Are they eating bugs and marigolds and things like that? Well, that's a heck of a lot healthier than it is if they're outside and you're feeding them corn and soy. So just because they're not in a cage, it really depends what you're feeding them. Again, I'm not a fan of animal products. If you're going to eat them, though, I'll negotiate with you. They've got to be organic. And so if you are feeding them organic and a healthy diet, if you're going to do it, that's the way to do it. So,
do you support healthy keto?
No, not a fan of keto. And it's funny because years ago, and I get this question, I don't know, 5-6 times a day, keto came out, and even experts like Joe Mercola and these other doctors are keto, keto, keto. And I said, I'm not buying it. And now the research is coming out that it's not as good as we thought it was going to be. And it is leading to things like brain issues. It is leading to things like heart disease in many cases. So even the experts who supported it have come forward and said, you know what, we were wrong. We didn't have enough research at the time. Let's pull back on that. So I am a fan of eating whole foods, like, fruits, vegetables, nuts, and seeds, and, foods the way they originally picked. But I would not recommend a keto diet, no.
Are you a fan of intermittent fasting?
Yes, absolutely. I'd say at least 12 hours a day. Don't eat for 12 hours a day. So if you have dinner at 6 o'clock at night, don't eat breakfast till 6 o'clock in the morning. If you can go 16 hours a day, or anywhere between 12 and 16 a day without eating, absolutely. Now you can take super greens and essential source while you're doing intermittent fasting. You have to drink water while you're intermittent fasting. But other than that, no. Yes, I'm a huge fan of it. Mm-hmm.
That's all.
Okay. Ready for round 2? Hey, folks, Dr. Joe Esposito here. Smiling here because we had a little problem getting on the air here. So anyway, glad you're here. What we're talking about today is some of the most unhealthy foods in the world. Now, I said earlier that George Carlin, years ago, on an album called Class Clown, he did a segment called the seven words you can never say on television. I won't say them because you can't say them on radio either, or on podcasts. But later on in his career, he said it was a lot more than just 7. So I always talk about the 7 deadly sins in nutrition: alcohol, meat, sugar, dairy, coffee, soda, and artificial sweetener. Well, it turns out, just like George Carlin, there are a lot more than just those, but that's the good starting point. So we're talking about today the foods that you're eating and why they are just so bad for you. And I worry. I worry for your future, and the Moody Blues has a song, and one of the lines is, "And I'm frightened for your children." And I'm very frightened for your children because I said earlier I was on a cruise recently, and I just looked at people eating. Now, I go to restaurants, I see it, but this is mass eating, eating on a 4,000-person scale. And the sick people are eating horrible foods, and the healthy people are eating good foods. And it wasn't a secret. It wasn't like there's a magic diet, the keto or the high protein or low fat, high fat vegan. No, there was no secret to what these people are eating. They were going to the salad bar. They were going to the vegetable area. They were going to the fruit bar. They were staying away from the meats and the roasts and the gravies and the sauces and the heavy pastas. And I looked at myself, looked at my plate, looked at the people with me's plate, looked at the healthy people's plate, and I said, here's the answer. It's cheaper, it's easier, it's better for you, it's better for the environment. The number one cause of emissions that affect the climate, the environment, number one cause, animal food production. That's it. If we cut back just 1 day a week, if the whole world cut back on animal production 1 day a week, animal consumption, we would reduce gases in the air dramatically. Like countries' worth of emissions stopped 1 day a week. Imagine if you did it every day. I haven't had animal product in 37 years, 38 years. Now, I didn't do it because I'm trying to save the planet. I didn't do it for emissions, but we know that one of the byproducts is that it's dumping so much pollution into the air. So, I always say, if you knew what I knew, you would do what I do. And if you understood what I know in 40 years of research, there would be no other choice in your mind. For many reasons. I'm doing it for health. That's my main gig. There's other benefits too, but my main gig is health. Now, I was watching a lot of people eat fried foods. Fried chicken, fried calamari, pork rinds, fried steak. So not only are there high calorie content in that, the main issue is when you heat these oils at high temperatures, you create something called advanced glycated or glycation end products. AGE. Advanced glycation end products. It ages you. I mean, it really does happen to be an acronym. But these compounds formed from animal-derived products are cooked at high temperatures for prolonged periods of time. Now, they did a study in the journal Advances in Nutrition. Experts concluded that sustained exposure to advanced glycation end products gradually erodes native defenses, setting the stage for abnormally high inflammation and a precursor to disease. That's the quote from the boring journal. Journals are boring, by the way. I read them. Trust me. So it's not really hard to figure this one out. If you're eating a lot of fried foods, especially fried animal products, you are getting advanced glycation end products in your body. And people say, well, Dr. Joe, I feel like I'm wrinkling. I'm aging so fast. That's the advanced glycation end products. Eating away at the collagen and connective tissue in your body and speeding up the aging process. People think I'm about 15 years younger than I am. I'm proud of that because I've worked for 38 years to get that way. So you don't want to eat away at the things that eat away at your connective tissue, and not just the skin, but the inside body as well. So there are ways to diminish it. Plants are going to be the best. If you're going to eat meat, like I said, do organic meat. So you want to bake your foods in the oven. So stay away from high heats, grill marks. If you can broil it, again, without grilling it, put it in a fluid. Stewing it is really the best way to do it. So if it has grill marks on it or the crunchy ends, I know brisket a lot of times people like, I guess, the barbecue ends. I haven't eaten it. I don't know what it is. But that crunchy stuff, those are the advanced glycation end products. Grilled burgers with the lines on it, advanced glycation end products. So please stay away from those deep fried foods, even the grilled foods, if they have grill marks on them. But the deep fried food is just the worst of the worst of the worst. The oils are bad to begin with. You heat them and they oxidize. Then they get into your body, and we said earlier, your body starts building cells and tissue out of these cheap oils. And it affects the cell wall. It affects what's the mitochondria in the cell. The mitochondria generates electricity in the cell. Cells become weak. They're more susceptible to altering their replication, becoming abnormally replicated cells. We call that what? Cancer. So, yeah, answer's there. Don't eat fried foods. And if you've eaten French fries, for example, that creates something called acrylamides. Acrylamides are known carcinogens. So I wish I had a better answer for you, folks, but there isn't. Some of the bad stuff tastes good. I get that. But my point is it's not worth it. When I made my transition to deciding to live a lot longer than I would have had I stayed where I was, I kept asking myself, is it worth it? Is it worth not fixing back pain? Is it worth having acid reflux? Is it worth eating fried foods? Is it worth eating processed foods? And the answer every time was no. So it took me a while. Didn't happen overnight, but I remember last time I had meat, I had spare ribs at my mother's house. And I was living in Georgia at the time. I drove back from New Jersey. And at the time, I was so poor that I couldn't afford to eat meat. So I remember I'd bicycle to the grocery store. I didn't drive my car. I had a car at the time. My first 2 years of college, I didn't have a car. I just bicycled to the grocery store and go out with my friends at night, and I'd buy them a drink or something to pay for the gas. And I'd bicycle to the grocery store, a place called Metro Grocery on Roswell Road in Marietta, Georgia. And I had a newspaper bag. I used to deliver the New York Times years ago when I was a child. And I had my bag, and I'd fill it up with as many fruits and vegetables as I could. And I'd go on a Tuesday because Tuesday was the discount day. The dented cans and the torn bags of rice and the vegetables that were about to go bad. I buy them all, and I go home and cook it or eat it raw. And I started feeling great. And I couldn't figure out why I was feeling so great. And then I realized, wait a minute. I went home, I had spare ribs and Christmas dinner, and it was wonderful, but, it tasted great. And when I came back, I started feeling better and better and better because I couldn't afford to eat the bad foods. So when people say it's expensive to eat healthy, it's the exact opposite. If you don't know what to eat, go to my website, drjoe.com, and just type in the search bar, so what can I eat? And it's a talk I did. I was in a studio one day by myself, and I talked for about an hour. Breakfast, lunches, dinner, snacks, really easy, really inexpensive, really a lot of fun. And I give you my 30-day challenge. Do it for 30 days. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. So what? I'm wrong. But if I'm right, which I am, then you can say, this is all I had to do. These tiny little changes I had to make in my life. I'm already eating some of this stuff already. I just need to eat more of it, less of the bad stuff. That's all I had to do, and I'm saving so much money, and I'm feeling better. I'm probably going to live longer. Yeah. That's it. I don't have an agenda. I don't sell food. I can tell you what to eat, what not to eat. I do have supplements, and I wish you would take supplements. I really do, because even though I eat a really good diet, I want to make sure I'm getting all the nutrients that I need. The minimum supplements would be Dr. Joe's Super Greens and Dr. Joe's Essential Source. I take them every day. It's 2 powders, and I take a scoop of each, and they taste great. And then I take nitric oxide to increase my circulation. I take omega-3 fatty acids for my brain function. I take digestive enzymes if I eat cooked food. So I have a whole protocol that I've done for myself. I put together a plan for myself. And we do that for patients. We can do it. Every patient that comes in the door, we do a nutrition workup. We can do it virtually as well. So if you want to become a patient, just go to my website, drjoe.com, and you can schedule an appointment, and tell us it's going to be virtual or in person, and we'll get that taken care of for you. Other foods that I want you to stay away from, unhealthiest foods on the planet. I've got about 100 of them, by the way, so I'm not going to cover nearly enough in one day here. Bacon and sausage. Nitrites and nitrates, you cook them at a high temperature, and it becomes advanced glycated end products. We talked about that already. But when you have protein and fat, like in meat, and you grill it, it changes the molecular structure, and it becomes a really serious issue. It creates something called nitrosamines. Nitrosamines are known carcinogens. So nitrates, let's say, get a nitrate from celery, spinach, arugula. By themselves, without heavy proteins, goes into the body, and that can be good for you. But the chemical nitrates that we use in nitrites are different. They react differently, especially with the meats. And so nitrates and nitrites in cured food, even uncured meats, turn into carcinogenic nitrosamines when exposed to high heat. And what's funny is they say, like, uncured sausage, let's say. They have the uncured sausage, but they use celery. Celery juice, high in what? Nitrates. So when it's heated with the protein, it still creates nitrosamines. So just because they're using celery juice to start with doesn't mean it's good for you. Uncured is when they use celery juice. It's a natural nitrate that now they've destroyed by putting it with the meat and then smoking it. So you want to really limit that on how much you eat. Study in food chemistry found processed foods have an average of 80% fewer nitrates than they once did, but you still need to take extra precautions. It's getting better, folks, in some areas. And the reason is, I think, that people like you listen to people like me, and I listen to people like me, and we learn so much. Every single day, I've studied for 40 years, every single day I learn something new. Even if I'm on vacation, I follow certain people. I listen to them. I read books. I have books with me all the time. I'm reading journals all the time. I don't recommend you do that. It's extremely boring. But I want to learn so that I can share the information with you. And this is going to sound terrible, but more importantly, I want that information for myself. I want to know how to get well and stay well. I'm not going to live forever, but I'm going to do everything I can to get as long as I can out of this life. This is it. We don't get an extra shot at this, folks. This is one time around. I don't know what happens after this, but for this round, this is it. And every day, patients come to me. They email me. They come in as a patient. We do virtual meetings, consultations for them. And they say, Dr. Joe, I wish I'd done this sooner. Why didn't somebody tell me that there's ways to get well without drugs and surgery? And now, I'm not against drugs and surgery. Sometimes you need them. But let's try to fix it at this level. Then we can always escalate the care to drugs, to injections, to surgery, rehab. Absolutely. I'm happy to do that, but let's start here. And let's work together so we can get the best plan for you. People come to me and say, Dr. Joe, I need surgery. And I look at their reports and I'll read their MRIs and I'll say, you know what? You do. You are a surgical case. Absolutely. However, let's get you healthy going into the surgery, and then let's keep you healthy coming out of the surgery. Now, doctors and hospitals love this because they get graded on their morbidity and mortality rate. If somebody's still sick or if somebody dies, and they get grades on it. And so if I can get a patient healthy going into surgery and keep them healthy coming out of surgery, they're going to get higher marks. I don't steal their patient from them. They still make the money they're going to make, but we have healthier patients. I'm meeting this week with a neurologist, and she's listened to my shows, and she goes, it's unbelievable. I've never heard any of this before. And she's one of the top neurologists in the country. And she said, can we get together and have a meeting so that I can send my traumatic brain injury patients to you so that we can do a nutrition protocol on every one of them? Yes, of course we can. So it's a lot of fun. Years ago, doctors didn't talk to each other. Chiropractors, nutritionists, health food people, medical doctors, everybody hated each other. Everybody fought. Now we're realizing we can all work together to help each other. So if you do have a health issue, neck pain, back pain, shoulder pain, digestive issues, nutritional concerns, make an appointment to come see us. In the Atlanta area, we have offices in Marietta, Duluth, Stockbridge, and West Cobb. You can come see us in person. We love that. If you're not in the Atlanta area, you can do a virtual consultation. Just go to my website, drjoe.com. You can book it right online or call us. The number's right there, and we'll get that set up for you. We accept people with all insurances, no insurances. It depends what your insurance covers, actually. It doesn't depend on me. It depends on your policy. And if you have a bad policy that doesn't cover what you need, get a new policy. Really, it's just that simple. People say, well, Dr. Joe, my insurance doesn't cover all this stuff. Get new insurance. I can work with you. I'll work with you, absolutely. And we have cash plans available. We have payment plans available. We'll do everything we can within reason to try to get you well. drjoe.com. You can book an appointment right now. Normally, the first visit is $940. We've reduced that for my listeners to $299. First visit and half of the second visit is $299. So just go do it. Other things that blew my mind as I sailed the 7 seas, only sailed 1 sea, people eating cereal at the cereal bar and watching people load up with cereal and then put cow's milk on it. There's BHT, there's BHA, refined carbohydrates, added sugar. There's no sugarcoating how much sugar there is in cereal. Sugar just wreaks havoc on your body. Consuming too much of that can lead to obesity, can lead to heart disease, diabetes, cancer. One bowl of cereal, you'll find the same amount of sugar as you would in a Boston cream donut. Now, I used to work at a donut shop. I used to make the donuts. And so I know what goes into these things. And so a bowl of cereal, Boston cream donut. Which would you choose? Which is healthier? Well, I'd probably pick the cereal because we know the Boston cream donut's junk. Yeah, but same thing. Also laced with BHT and BHA. These ingredients are banned in the UK, Australia, New Zealand, Japan, and a lot of Europe because they're thought to be a carcinogen. So stay away from that. If you have to have cereal, and the one thing I can say that I will support was muesli. Now, when I graduated college, the guy I went to school with, Pete, don't remember his last name, but he and I just said, what are you going to do after you graduate? I don't know. What are you going to do? So we flew over to England, and we bicycled around the United Kingdom. And we stayed in these little hostels. Some of them were like $3 a night, $5 a night, and they had breakfast and everything. It was really cool. And I was introduced to something called muesli, and I didn't know what it was. So basically, it's rolled oats, nuts, dried fruit, and that's it. And you can make your own, because you can buy it. It's really expensive, but you can just look up muesli and make your own. It's a whole lot cheaper, folks. Do organic dried fruit, because a lot of the non-organic dried fruit has sulfites in it. And you could add coconut milk, almond milk, soy milk to it. Eat it plain if you want to. It's a little dry. But that's a much better choice if you have to have a cereal. Now, here's what's going to happen. If you do this, in a very short period of time, you're going to try eating regular cereal and you're going to go, oh, this stuff is disgusting. It's so sweet and so over the top flavored. We try to make foods, we meaning the food industry, not me, hyper palatable. So exciting to the taste buds. That's why we add monosodium glutamate to things. That's why we add so much salt to things. We add so much sugar to things. It's so exciting to the taste buds that you want more. I want to get high on this stuff, man. This stuff's awesome. And then when you start cutting back and changing your diet, you start to realize, wow, I really don't need this stuff anymore. I can't do this stuff anymore. You actually have to train yourself. I never smoked. I never smoked a day in my life. But people say, well, smoking, you have to learn how to do it. Why would I want to learn a bad habit? I don't understand that. So anyway, sugary cereals, please stay away from them. Another thing, I don't have time to tell you a funny story about this, though. Frozen entrees, sodium, preservatives. Freezing food, terrific way to make it last longer, but they add all these preservatives. And I don't know why in many cases, because the freezing is the preservative. Why do we add preservatives to something that's already preserved? I don't get it. So if you're going to do something frozen like that, organic, low sodium, low sugar options. Again, if you don't know what to eat, go to my website, drjoe.com, and type in, so what can I eat? And it's a whole hour. I think it's an hour. It's free. You can search my website, by the way. On the website, we have about 4,000 hours of lectures and podcasts, absolutely free. Go there, search it, spend some time, just type in a search bar what you're looking for. If you have questions, send them to me through the website, drjoe.com. Happy to answer them for you. The first book I ever wrote was called Eating Right for the Health of It, and it tells you how to change your diet. And the second half is all recipes, breakfast, lunches, dinner, snacks. So, yeah, I have books, I have videos, I have audios, I have lots of information that I want to share with you because I want you to get you well and keep you well. Another thing of some of the unhealthiest food in the world is restaurant desserts. Now, you thought I was going to say sugar, right? And fat. Well, a lot of times they're dangerously high portions of sodium. Salt we put in there to make it taste different. What happens is when I add salt to something sweet, salt causes me to salivate. When I salivate, I'm releasing salivary amylase. Salivary amylase breaks down carbohydrates into simpler sugars, complex carbs into simple carbs. And it makes things taste sweeter. So when you're baking a cake or making cookies, you always notice a pinch of salt. Why would you add a pinch of salt? Doesn't make any sense. One of the reasons is it makes it taste sweeter because of the salivary amylase release because of the salt. So what I subscribe to is have yourself a little fruit at the end of dinner. If you're going to have something, get some vegan sorbet because a lot of times sorbet, they'll put milk in it. I don't know why. But a vegan sorbet, or what I do sometimes, if I'm just in the mood for something sweet like that, I'll take some frozen pineapple and or papaya and or mango and or bananas, and I'll put it in a little, I got a little, not a Vitamix, a little one, Magic Bullet. And I'll add a little milk to it, plant-based milk, of course, and I'll just whip it up and make my own pseudo ice cream. And I love that in the summer. My father used to call it a wingding because there was a, was it Dairy Queen that had the wingdings? Anyway, he'd make his own wingding, and he'd put the frozen fruit in there, and he didn't realize he was eating something healthy, and he'd whip that up and he'd eat it. And so my father's wingdings, in honor of my father, I'll call it Dr. Joe's wingdings, and put some frozen fruit with some plant-based milk, whip it up. You can throw some chia seeds in there, some flax seeds if you want to get crazy. You can throw in Dr. Joe's Super Greens, Dr. Joe's Essential Source, which of course you should be doing every day anyway. And that's a much better dessert. Because what happens is you just ate. Why do you want to put more stuff on top of what you just ate? Really hard to digest, really heavy. So keep it light. Don't get to the point where you're full. A lot of cultures, they say, we want to get to 80% full and then I stop. You're going to feel so much better. You're going to have so much more energy. You're going to have so much less acid reflux and burping and gas and bloating and diarrhea and constipation and bad breath. All that's going to go away when you just go to about 80% full. The secret with eating, by the way, is it takes 20 minutes to get the message from your stomach to your brain. So if you're going to eat for 20 minutes, you'll be full. If you're going to have a little snack, I just posted this on one of my social media posts just recently, have a handful of nuts. Have a half an avocado. Wait 20 minutes, then eat. So as you're preparing dinner, have a snack as you're preparing dinner. It's very simple. Have a snack before you go out to dinner. And watch how much less you eat. How your stomach starts to flatten out. How you're going to start to have more energy. how a lot of digestive system problems are going to go away. It's really not hard. Again, I used the analogy earlier of driving a stick shift. The first time you did it, you thought, there's no way I'm going to be able to drive the stick shift. And then after a while, very shortly, you go, oh, I can do this. Same thing with eating healthy. You don't know how to do it, and I'm teaching you how to do it. And at drjoe.com, type in, so what can I eat? Listen to the lecture that I did on what to eat. Get a copy of my book, Eating Right for the Health of It. Tells you what to eat, has recipes in it. So it's really easy. It's really simple. It's really inexpensive. Along with the 7 deadly sins of nutrition, again, a lot of these fall under those 7 deadly sins. You know, white sugar, I don't know if I have to go into this. Pew Research Center, Americans eat over 90 grams of added sugar a day, and that was in 2014. 40 grams above, again, 40 or 50 grams above what you should be doing every single day. World Health Organization recommends intake of 25 grams of sugar a day. So in America, we're saying 40 grams. World Health Organization is saying 20 grams and 25 grams, and the average American is eating 90 grams. I can go on and on about why sugar is so bad. Now, if you have to eat something sweet, Dr. Joe, I have to eat something sweet. I'm sorry, I can't. I have to have something in my herbal tea. Use stevia. Use xylitol. Use Lohan. Make sure they're organic. And that will be a better choice. Here's what's going to happen. It's going to be my new catchphrase. Here's what's going to happen. Once you start doing it, you're going to try eating sugar again. You won't be able to do it. It's way too sweet. You're going to try eating things like frosting or cake or cookies or donuts or brownies. And you're going to go, oh my gosh, this is horrible. I don't want to do this anymore. So you can reset your taste buds. In fact, on my website, drjoe.com, we have something called a 21-day cleanse. And if you just type 21 day in the search bar, it'll come up. And I put people on that who just can't break their food addictions. And after 21 days, they're like, Dr. Joe, I can eat a cookie again and not have to eat the whole box. It's really kind of cool. All right, folks, almost out of time for today. If you have any questions, go to my website, drjoe.com, drjoe.com. Send me questions. Book an appointment. Just book an appointment, either virtual or in person. And let's check the nervous system. Let's check the digestive system. Let's talk about your diet. Then I can direct you as to where to go. And you'll be like most of my patients who say, why didn't I do this sooner? Why did I suffer with that neck pain, back pain, shoulder pain, numbness, tingling, headaches? Folks, if you're ever in a car accident, if the car is damaged, you're damaged. You need to come see us right away. drjoe.com. And follow us on social media. We post every single day. Like I said, we have nearly over 500,000 followers across all platforms. At Dr. Joe Esposito. At Dr. Joe Esposito. We post every single day there too. We want to be your doctors. My team of doctors and I want to get you well and keep you well. Again, the website, drjoe.com. Talk to you next week. All right. Any questions?
Is oat bran good?
Oat bran's okay. Yeah, that's part of a diet. It's not. I wouldn't eat it all day, but yeah, it's fine. What else?
What ingredients should I look for and look out for in soups?
Anything you can't pronounce. There's so many ingredients out there that I could go into. BHT, BHA, monosodium glutamate, autolyzed yeast, hydrolyzed vegetable protein, natural flavors. So try to get an organic soup, be able to read all the ingredients. If you can do that, you're in good shape. If you can't read all the ingredients, don't do it. That's a good rule. Or make your own soups. In my book, Eating Right for the Health of It, got some great soup recipes. What else?
Is celery juice good?
Yes. Simple answer. Yes. Great source of nitrates, nitric oxide. Yes.
What are your thoughts on starchy foods like rice and potatoes?
Not a fan. If you're going to eat them, I want you to do what's called a resistant starch. So what you do is you cook it and then put it in the refrigerator overnight. And then you can eat it the next day. I would only do organic. If I'm going to do rice, I would only do California rice because California has the lowest amount of arsenic. If you're going to do rice, you want to put it in water, bring it to a boil, turn it off, drain the water, rinse it, and then put water in it and then cook it. That's going to take a lot of the arsenic out of the rice because even organic rice has arsenic and it just absorbs it from the soil. But commercial rice, certainly not a fan. Potatoes, the darker color potato, the better. So yellow potatoes, like a sweet potato, which really isn't a potato. Purple potatoes are great. Try to stay away from the white ones if you can. If you're going to do them, make sure they're organic and make them as a resistant starch.
Are there benefits of bone broth?
No, not a fan of bone broth. Animals store heavy metals like mercury in their bones and their cartilage. So even if there is some health benefits to it, I feel the downside far outweighs the upside. So even organic bone broth, which kills me, I don't think I've ever seen organic bone broth. Um, they boil when they boil the bones and the cartilage, it releases those heavy metals into the broth, and you're drinking that. Why would you do that? I don't get any benefit to drinking bone broth. You can get all the other benefits without the negative side to eating a plant-based diet. So, what else?
Is an air fryer a good way to cook food?
Air fryer's okay, but again, if you're going to add oils to it and it gets crispy, it's going to create acrylamides like potatoes. So, also the air fryer, I'm not a fan of because the lining of the air fryer is usually it releases chemicals. So what I do is I've got something, and I got mine at an estate sale actually, and it's from Sharper Image, and it's a glass dome, and it has a heater on top of it, and you put the glass heater on top of it, and it cooks it that way. I don't even know what it's called, but it's all glass, and that's a better choice. It's a smaller oven. So I would say glass oven, tabletop glass oven, whatever it is, I would try that and see. But air fryers, because they're made with nonstick components, you're releasing those chemicals when you air fry into the air. So not a good idea. In fact, if you read the label on an air fryers, it even has a warning on it. So what else?
Are dried figs, plums, and other fruit okay?
Yes. Make sure they're organic, though. Otherwise, they have sulfites in it. Don't eat a lot because it's pretty high concentrated sugar, but the answer is yes. Now, be careful with plums because they're prunes, and they'll keep you going. Same thing with figs. It can kind of irritate your bowels a little bit. They work as laxatives. So don't eat a lot of them or else you may be in a bathroom all day. Organic only. What else?
I just had a baby and I'm breastfeeding. How can I reduce my belly size?
Wow, John looks great for just having a baby. Oh, that's the question. I thought you were saying yourself. Okay, good. Follow what I say. Follow the advice that I give you. Go to my website, drjoe.com. Type in 7 deadly sins of nutrition. Avoid those. And then type in, so what can I eat? Because right now, I want you to eat only good foods. Because if you're breastfeeding, it's very good. Because when you stimulate the nipple, it releases oxytocin. Oxytocin goes into the uterus and causes uterine contractions. Some women, and this is just the reality, some women have come to me and said, Dr. Joe, when I breastfeed, I feel like I'm getting aroused. Because the oxytocin is causing uterine contractions. It's nothing to be weird about. Don't worry about it. It's nothing, oh, my kid's breastfeeding. No, that's okay. It's an oxytocin release. So what's happening is the oxytocin is causing uterine contractions, which can then help flatten out the belly. So breastfeeding is a great way to flatten out your belly after having a baby. Then following the advice I gave you on what to eat, what not to eat, awesome. I would also recommend Super Greens, an essential source, not just for you, but for your baby. I'd also recommend vitamin D, not just for you, but for your baby. And I'd recommend, I'm looking for my omega-3s. Nope. Dr. Joe's omega-3s, vital for the baby's formation of brain function. So if I was the Grand Poobah universe, Super Green, Essential Source, Vitamin D, and omega-3 fatty acids for all women when they're pregnant, and especially when they're breastfeeding, because it's going to help you, it's going to help the baby. So nobody loses on that one. So it's real simple. But if you keep doing what you're doing, the belly will flatten out. What else?
I love salmon and chicken. What is a healthier replacement?
I don't know about salmon. If you're going to do salmon, it's got to be wild-caught salmon. Don't ever eat farm-raised salmon. Please, 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 please. Don't ever eat farm-raised salmon. Wild-caught salmon, I wouldn't recommend eating it, but if you're going to eat it, it's got to be wild-caught. Chicken, I'm not a fan of chicken. There's about, I guess, about 150,000 foods that you can eat that are not alcohol, meat, sugar, dairy, coffee, soda, artificial sweetener. So I don't think you need a substitute. I think what you need is try new foods and say, oh my gosh, this is so much better than chicken. This is so much better than salmon. Indian food, I love India. Now, again, they use seed oils, and I'm not a fan of a lot of the seed oils. So if you're going to make it yourself, you want to use coconut oil if you can, or extra virgin organic olive oil. But if you get my book, Eating Right for the Health of It, just make every recipe in there. And then circle the ones that you like. There's going to be a lot of circles. And you won't even have to, I mean, I like chicken too. I used to like chicken. Haven't had it in 38 years, but there's so many other foods that you can eat that are so much better for you. So do it that way. You don't need a replacement. You just need something different. Better. What else?
Are Mio sweeteners okay?
Mio sweeteners. I think they have artificial sweetener, if I remember correctly. So I'm going to give you a no on that one. And dyes and chemicals, yeah. So, no. What else?
Is monk fruit a good sugar substitute?
Yes. What else? Some of these are easy. You guys.
What should I eat at midday to boost my energy?
I take super green essential sauce in the morning. Nitric oxide is great for energy boosting. Adrenal support is excellent for energy boosting. But if you follow me on social media, you know I talked about the cross crawl. And what the cross crawl is, I don't know, am I in camera? Can I do this, Garrett? Yeah. Okay. Cross crawl is this. I do this every day. I do it before I do a show. Do 10, do 20, do 30, and you will be amazed. If you can get up to 30, if you do that, how much energy you're going to have, you won't need anything else. And water. You got to drink a lot of water, too. But do the cross crawl every day, and you will be blown away. I want you to do 100 a day. Now, you can do 101, 100 times. You can do 10 times. I don't care what you can do. If you're in a wheelchair, if you don't want to get out of your room, if you don't want to get out of bed, do this. Do it sitting. The cross crawl is an amazing way to boost your energy. And I can give you a whole lecture on that, but I don't want to bore you guys. So, what else you got?
Is Celtic salt okay?
Celtic salt is okay. It's one of the better choices. Yeah, Celtic salt, air-dried sea salt, black salt, brown salts, I think they are. Yeah, those are all much better than table salt. Only use those. But don't use a lot, but only use those. What else?
That's it.
Okay. Thank you, guys. I appreciate you. Again, if you're listening on live, put in hashtag live. If you're listening to replay, put in hashtag replay. Any questions, drjoe.com. Send me there. If you want to make an appointment, Real Trio is the best thing. Just do that, and we'll set up a time where you and I can meet one-on-one. See you next week.